I made my first commercial feature film when I was 18 years old. It was one of the most stressful experiences of my life. If you're making a film right now or have plans on making a film in the future, I'm going to share with you 5 things that will hopefully make your experience a bit easier. To give you some context, back in 2012, in my senior year of high school, I wrote a feature-length action zombie film. It was a genre I was unfamiliar with as I had been making strictly action fantasy adventure films prior. I thought it was time to change up the formula and dabble into a genre I knew nothing about. After many mishaps, the shooting of the film got pushed back into 2013, my first year of college. After production, it took about 2 years to edit between being a full-time student and working a job. It eventually had a theatrical release in August of 2015 and would later release to the public on Amazon in May of 2019. There are many things that went right and many things that went wrong during the whole process. Things I wasn't prepared for because I lacked obvious experience and the understanding of how commercial films were made. Now at the time of making this video, I'm still no expert and I'm still learning things to this day. But I did learn some valuable things about independent filmmaking during my experience that I want to share with you today. Now, this list isn't in any particular order as I believe each thing is essential in the process of making a film. It's like learning how to drive a car. Each action is crucial for the entire operation. Stepping on the gas is just as important as stepping on the brakes. Steering and accelerating don't list on some hierarchy scale. It's all just elements of the same process. So the same is true for this list as well. Each part equates to the entire process as a whole. So without further ado, here are 5 things I learned while making a feature film. The first thing I learned about making an independent film is just how important the story actually is. Now it sounds self-explanatory and like it would just be common sense, but even to this day, bad films get made, even in Hollywood where millions of dollars are spent. And it's not always because of the directing, the acting, or even the execution. Most of the time, it's the story, the script. A poorly executed film can still hold its ground if the story is engaging enough. Think about old films before modern technology. Clearly they didn't have high-definition cameras, incredible special effects or CGI, or even the greatest audio quality. But yet, some are considered all-time classics to this day. More often than not, it's because the characters and stories captivated their audiences, and this was a mistake I made on my first feature film. At the time I wrote my film's script in high school, I essentially had a checklist of cool scenes I wanted to include in my zombie movie, but they lacked proper context. So when those moments finally happened in the film, they weren't as impactful as they could have been had I spent time understanding and fleshing out the characters in a way that would have resonated with an audience better. In a good movie, you care about what the characters go through if they're likable and relatable. When I wrote the script to my film, I had vague and two-dimensional ideas of what I wanted the characters to be, and wrote them in all these action sequences without wondering how everything would fit into the plot as a whole. Your script is your foundation, and even if things go bad after that, maybe you brought in the wrong actors, or the directing isn't quite right, a good story triumphs above all else. A good script is where you want things to be the strongest, as it's literally the heart, the soul, and the core of your narrative movie. You want to spend the most amount of time on this process, or as much time as you're allotted. There are plenty of great books out there to help you write a good script, such as Save the Cat, or Making a Good Script Great. All sorts of mediums to learn how to pull in an audience into the world of your story, which is what you're aiming to do. I would like to stress the importance of really understanding your story, the world, and the characters within it. The second thing I learned about making a feature film is the importance of a crew. Prior to making my first feature film, Standoff, I had done a bunch of other projects including a feature-length Legend of Zelda fan film, various action sequences, and other short films. All throughout grade school and college, I was a one-man band. I directed, shot, edited, produced, and did everything on set myself. I guess you could say I became prideful as I took great pride in feeling like I literally made the movie myself. Other than acting in my films, internally, I adapted this arrogant sense of achievement and accomplishment to refusing help and doing everything myself. Since I was successful in the past, successful meaning that the projects I made actually got finished, I felt obligated to do the same for Standoff. While I did receive help for things that I didn't know how to do, such as makeup, I still attempted to do most things on my own. On Standoff, I was the director of photography, script supervisor, sound guy, lighting guy, and did most production assistant work. I intentionally tried to limit the help I received on set because of my own pride. I found myself completely overwhelmed at times and incredibly stressed out, and I do believe the final product suffered as a result. That's not to say there weren't times that friends came on set to help me, which they did, but I should have assembled a crew ahead of time, or at the very least, asked my friends to help more often. A lot of people do not like asking for help, but a film isn't a one-man endeavor, it's a collaborative effort. So don't let artistic pride consume you and ask for help as much as you possibly can when working on a film. The third thing I learned while making a film is the importance of communication. Communication is important in everything you do involving people, and of course making a film is no different. Jumping back to what I said previously about asking for help, well, part of my also not asking for help was because I was also a terrible communicator. I went into making my first feature film thinking, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And as a result, I put everything on my shoulders instead of letting others help me. But making my first film forced me to learn the importance of communication. Making sure everyone is on the same page is crucial. I learned a lot about directing actors because of all the interactions I was forced to have with them on set. One interesting thing I learned is that everyone has a different perception on an emotion. For example, an actor's version of what it means to be mad or furious might look different from your version of those emotions. So sitting down and really taking the time to talk about these things with each actor is important. I found that communicating with actors on a personal level, individually, was a strong way to communicate and collaborate on different ideas and thoughts. No one is a mind reader, which I didn't know apparently. Taking time before shooting to talk about characters, the story, and your vision with your actors and crew before a scene is something every filmmaker should do. For some reason, my 18-year-old self thought that if you read the movie script, you would see the exact same version of the film that was in the filmmaker's head. But that's not the case at all. As a filmmaker, and really just as a good human being in general, communication is so important, so essential, but somehow gets overlooked. So make sure you don't skip out on clearly articulating your vision and your thoughts with the people around you, even if you have everything mapped out perfectly in your head. The fourth thing I learned while making my first feature film was the importance of planning ahead. Again, something that seems extremely self-explanatory, but I've always been a procrastinator and a last-minute kind of guy. This type of mindset does not translate well into making a film. Because I was trying to figure most things out as we went during production, we went well past our original wrap date for shooting. Things such as location scouting, storyboarding, and just general planning would have drastically changed my experience of making my first film. There were also lots of things that happened on set that I wasn't prepared for or didn't calculate properly. The setting of the sun, blocking, prep time, actors or crew being late, lunch, problem solving, and countless other miscellaneous things that can throw you off guard if you're not prepared. And trust me, you will never fully be prepared for everything that can and will go down on set. I learned that every film set operates on Murphy's Law, and that you should always schedule for problems to come up. For some reason, for this film, I calculated that everything would go according to plan, which it really did. Producing a film is an active task from beginning to end, but you'll make everyone else's experience and yours so much better and easier if you plan ahead. I promise that being proactive will save you a lot of headaches in the long run. The final thing I learned about making my first feature film is the value of perseverance. As I said earlier, making my first commercial feature was probably the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life. We faced setback after setback after setback throughout the whole process. It took 3 years to get the film finished and shown to an audience. Standoff actually had an entirely different cast when we first started production while I was in high school back in 2012. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Shoots got rained out, actors fell through, and scheduling reshoots became impossible due to everyone's schedule. The entire movie had to be put on halt until the following year, where the whole movie had to be recast because the original actors either moved away or went on to other projects. Even after Standoff's second birth, the entire process was far from being fun and games. It was a lot of hard work, literal blood, sweat, and tears, and there were points where I felt like giving up. Sometimes scenes and shots got extremely complicated. Sometimes we went past our shooting times and had to figure out ways to come back to a location we no longer had access to. But regardless of the problem, we found a solution and ultimately got the film done. Standoff is a film that had so many issues and complications during production that it really shouldn't have gotten finished. I was blessed enough to be given a strong cast and crew who believed in the project and also believed in me as a filmmaker. But I also had to believe in myself. As an inexperienced 18-year-old at the time, I faced many moments of self-doubt. I didn't always have my head up. Sometimes I even thought I was just wasting everyone's time. But I suppose I also felt like I had to prove that I wasn't. I felt like I had to prove to the people around me and myself that I had what it took to create a feature film and finish it. I pushed on with the encouragement of the people around me and finished the film. While the film isn't some groundbreaking blockbuster die-hard film, to this day, I'm still thankful, satisfied, and extremely happy that I kept pushing to finish what I originally set out to do. There were times I lost interest in my own vision, where I felt like pursuing something else, where I wanted to just drop everything and move on to what I thought would be something bigger and better. But you don't learn or achieve anything by quitting. I not only gained the satisfaction of having completed a full-on feature film, but I obtained something a lot more personal that I still carry with me, and something that helps me overcome hardships that I face today. Integrity. There is nothing like the feeling of being able to trust yourself. A lot of friends of mine have told me they don't trust themselves. They say they're going to do something, make an album, learn how to cook, build a car, some sort of artistic or personal endeavor, but they never follow through from beginning to end. I learned that even though your passion may dilute, which it will if it's something you have to give time and energy to for over a month, pushing through to see your goals end is one of the greatest things you can achieve, no matter how dog shit your final product might be. You have to see things through. It's easy to give up when you've lost interest on something, but to be successful and maintain self-integrity, setting out and accomplishing the thing you want to do, no matter the obstacles, hardships, and unmotivating feelings that will always trail behind, is one of the most satisfying feelings I think a person can feel. And something I hope everyone gets to experience at least once in their life, whether it be making a film, a song, losing weight, or even painting your own living room. Perseverance is key to success, and success is whatever you define it as. Everyone can dream, but to make a film, you have to put that dream into motion. To put a dream into motion means making it a goal, and a goal is just a dream that you actively develop to become real. This is Joseph Springer Jr. signing off, and until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.